The message. When I was 14 years old, I had a bad illness. I was asleep one night in my room, and I was dreaming of being on a sailing ship in a storm. I remember looking up at the mast and the sails in full capacity from the violent winds. Although it was a very intense dream, I still somehow felt okay being in it. All of a sudden, I heard this voice come booming into my dream. Get up! Get up! You have to get up now. I immediately recognized the voice as that of my great-uncle Frank. I replied in a very relaxed tone, Go away, Frank, I'm all right. He replied, No, you have to get up now, you have to get up. He wouldn't stop saying this. And now I'm opening my eyes and beginning to wake up. But I can still hear his voice booming in my bedroom. But now, not in a dream state. I can hear him in the darkness of my room saying, Get up, come on, you have to get up now. Now, in the darkness of the room, it seemed like he was in the room standing, and it scared me to hear his voice now. I bounced out of bed and landed on the floor. My legs were literally still asleep. I had to wait a few seconds for them to actually get mobility from my brain. When I got to my feet, I was overwhelmed with the feeling of getting sick. I ran out of my bedroom doorway to try to get to the bathroom, but I only got to the top of the stairs where I threw up. Now, two strange things happened that night. First, he saved my life. If I would have never gotten that message to wake up, I would have threw up in my sleep and choked to death. But second, and even more strange, is I recognized my great-uncle's voice in my sleep. In my sleep, it was like he was always just there. And I somehow always knew it. Because when I heard his voice, I knew it immediately. But the strangest part is that he died in 1950 and I was born in 1971. And I have never heard his voice on any recordings. But in that dream that night, I somehow knew the sound of his voice. The tapping. My grandfather was a telegraph operator on Sable Island in the turn of the century. He worked for the Marconi Company. He told this story of a situation that happened to him one night that can only be described as divine guidance. He worked as a wireless operator for years on Sable Island. Now, if you don't know where Sable Island is, it's considered the graveyard of the Atlantic Ocean. For hundreds of years, ships of all kinds from all over the world have run aground on Sable Island because it's little more than a sandbar off the coast of Nova Scotia. He told this story one night of being on the island when the fog was as thick as pea soup. He was traveling to the house he slept in from the signal tower. Now, there are these wild ponies on Sable Island, and some of them were trained to walk from the signal tower to the lodging house. So my grandfather left the tower and climbed aboard one of these ponies, which would carry him the few hundred yards in the thick fog exactly to the house. He walked in the house and he heard a strange sound coming from upstairs. Curious at what it could be, he went to investigate. It sounded like a tapping every once in a while on a window. When he got upstairs with the lantern, he found nothing. But while standing there, he heard the tapping coming from the attic area. He climbed up the ladder into the attic, and with the help of his trusty lantern, he didn't see anything. Then, all of a sudden, he heard the tapping on the window at the far end of the attic. It was like someone was outside, tapping to get his attention. With the dim light of the lantern, he made his way to the window. And as he was looking through the window to see what could possibly be making that sound, all of a sudden an object reached out of the darkness and tapped on the window. It startled my grandfather, and he jerked back his head quickly. And he bumped his head on one of the thick wooden trusses in the roof. To his surprise, there was a long, thin 6-inch spike sticking through the roof, only a few inches beside his head. If his head hit that with the adrenaline-fueled surprise that he hit the beam with, he was sure it would have stuck in his skull and killed him. When he went back and investigated the window again, he noticed that a piece of a small shingle had come loose, and when the wind blew, it would bend up and tap on the window. The meeting. My grandfather and I were very close. When I was young, he was a very big part of my life. But as I got older, we drifted apart, especially when I went to university, and then got into a beautiful relationship with a wonderful man. Time slipped away, and my grandfather and I didn't see each other as much as we used to. And then one day I got word he died. And I was personally devastated inside, because I never got a chance to tell him how much I loved him. I was depressed for months after his death, because I wished I had gone to see him one last time. Then one night I had a dream, and in it my grandfather came to me, wearing his jeans and sweater. He looked so handsome. He said to me, "What's all this about you feeling bad, about not seeing me? Don't feel bad about that. I know you love me, and I love you too." And he hugged me. And the strangest thing was I could feel him in my arms and smell his cologne. It was so wonderful and so real. I woke up still faintly smelling his cologne. It made me feel so good to know that we had that moment together, where I got to tell him how much I love him.